where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch proportionally.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है. हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे.
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. We have with us Mr. Abhijit Chavda. Sir ji, namaskar, pranam, welcome to the show. Wish you a very,
Namaskar,
very
thank you so much for having me.
Happy Republic Day to you and, of course, all of our audience that is going to join us. What a day. Military capability on display with geopolitics and a whole lot of stuff. So what do you think about Ursula von der Leyen here right now on this moment wearing a Jaipuri Bandkala, namaste, namaste all around the place. She was literally like that
yes.
through the time. What's happening here? They're learning Indianism?
I would say she's very welcome here because she comes with potentially the mother of all trade deals. So she is indeed very welcome. So is Madame Kaya Kalas, and so is the Portuguese gentleman, Mr. Da Costa, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
They're all very welcome here. Yeah, and she looked very elegant. She chose the right dress for the occasion. Yes, for the Delhi climate, the cold climate and all. And lots of namastes, very culturally appropriate. So it was a very good spectacle to watch, the entire parade and the dignitaries and Prime Minister Modi there and everything that happened. And obviously, she has come here with great expectations that we're going to sign a massive trade agreement between India and the EU, brings about 2 billion people together. That could definitely be a game changer. So the EU obviously is being pressurized by Trump and disrespected by Trump, which is something they're not used to. And as such, because of that, they would like to diversify their options. And what better diversification than having a trade deal with India, a mutually beneficial trade deal with India. Obviously, China is off the cards, so India makes sense. India is right now the hot thing, and it's going to keep growing for the next 20 years minimum. So I would say she's very welcome here, and let's see what kind of trade deal is inked, what is announced, what are the contours and parameters of the trade deal. I am pretty hopeful it's going to be very significant for both sides.
What I'm more interested is to see the geopolitical game out of it. The trade deal is going to be good. That's one thing for sure. Looking at Piyush Goyal's track record, he's been cracking good deals. So I don't have a doubt with that. But I'm more interested in the politics because one thing that we see is that Canada backed off, right, from China. He was supposed to have a free trade agreement. And because of Trump's pressure, today morning, Mark Carney comes out, oh, no, there's no free trade deal. There's nothing. So 100% tariff really got his goat.
Yeah, it did. So Canada is much easier to pressurize than the EU. Canada is one nation. It's right north of the US. The Americans can, if they want, they just walk into Canada. And Canada depends on the US for so many things, including its economy and defense and so many things. So Canada really can't do a thing if Trump decides to tell them, give them an ultimatum that you can't do a trade deal with China. And so it's not very surprising that this happened. But I doubt if Trump will be able to potentially pressurize the EU into walking away from a trade deal with India. There's obviously the question, will Trump do that? And the EU is a totally different entity. It's a large number of nations together. You can pressurize one individual. You can't pressurize a whole group of people, especially when they're already chafing from all the insults you've heaped upon them. The Denmark thing, the Greenland thing, doubling their share of NATO spending and so many things. So the EU nations, they're not used to being treated the way they have been treating third world nations for a century or more. The way the EU nations in cahoots with the US have been treating third world nations, the global south nations for the longest time, certainly they are on the receiving end of that exact same treatment from Trump.
Yeah.
And that is extremely disconcerting from them. You are treating us like we are third world shithole nations, and that doesn't work with us. So it's okay, See, diplomacy is all about arm twisting and pressurizing and all that happens behind closed doors. But now Trump's new way of doing things is that it happens in the open, which is extremely disrespectful, right? And that's why the EU nations have decided, let's look for alternatives beyond the US, and let's not cave into everything the Americans want us to do. So I think it's going to be way more difficult for Trump to persuade the EU to walk away from a trade deal with India. Once it's signed, it's signed. I mean, then
Signed.
it's even more hard. Then it's really, really hard to walk away from that. So I expect this to go ahead. Trump won't be able to do a thing about this thing, and that's great for India, because India also, I mean, more than the EU, India has been on the receiving end of Trump's pressure. I mean, the kind of tariffs that he has poured upon us, piled down upon us, 50% already, 50% tariffs. We had to walk out of Chabahar and whatnot. Otherwise, it would have been 75%. And there's always this Damocles sword of 500% tariffs that's hanging over our heads because of the oil we import from Russia. And we are not backing down from that. So India has also decided, you know what? Okay, the US is now off limits for us. Does it make sense to trade with them? So let's go for the EU. Let's go for all the other nations that are available. We have done Australia recently in the past couple of years. We have done New Zealand. We are doing Chile and whatnot, and we also have BRICS and so much more. So we are exploring lots of options. I think the ministry, Piyush Goyal's ministry, is now really seasoned in how to negotiate trade deals. They've been doing this for a while, and I think it's great for India. So yeah, that's how I see it. I think it's not going to be easy for Trump. It's not going to be possible for Trump to stop this from happening.
Yeah, indeed. One thing that I want to get to before we get into the larger geopolitical game is yesterday what happened in China. Yesterday, day before yesterday, has been quite interesting in China. Today morning, there's a report from the Washington Post, I think, it says that this general was involved in selling nuclear secrets to America. I was like, whoa, if that is the case, and America has actually breached China, which is not out of the blue. You had their what's his name, Qinggang, the foreign minister who got caught having a illicit affair in America as well. So I mean, it's quite interesting that these countries which are so hard in terms of their security apparatus are getting breached. If it's true, that too.
If it's true, indeed. So I remember after Xi Jinping came to power, a lot of high-ranking and top-ranking CPC personnel were purged, let's say. Some of them were imprisoned for long duration, some of them were executed. And allegedly, these people were all compromised. They were all working for the US, allegedly. So the Chinese went after all the compromised individuals inside China, inside the Chinese Communist Party. And Xi Jinping has been reforming, let's say, the Chinese military for the longest time. I mean, at least the past 6-7 years. So, we had this incident yesterday or day before yesterday when Zhang Xuxia and Liu Shenli were purged. And Zhang Xuxia is... he's got a long history with Xi Jinping. He's his iron brother. And he has been accused of selling, reportedly leaking core technical nuclear data to US, So that is an automatic death sentence. That's how bad that is. And just a month or so ago, in December, 3 more top Chinese generals were removed. In October, 8 generals were removed. So Xi Jinping is purging the Chinese military. He may be paranoid, he may be suspicious that the US has penetrated his institutions and all, but he's going after anybody where there's the slightest, hint or suspicion of anything, of any kind of wrongdoing. And they are also going after what they call, what's it called? The Chinese officials who have family abroad.
That's ironic. Yeah. Xi Jinping's own daughter is living in New York.
Yeah, well, he's obviously the boss, so he's exempt from that. But everyone else, I suppose, they've got to fall in line. So anyone who has any family abroad, they're either required to bring everyone back, and if they are unwilling to do it or unable to do it, they are out. So they're not executed or imprisoned, but they just fall out of power, and that's what's being done. So the Chinese are really, really going after this with great seriousness. I'm not sure. Obviously, there will be some element of some kind of maybe vendetta in this. Maybe there are some scores to settle. So that also happens along the way. But so it's pretty interesting what's happening. The Western media is reporting that the Chinese, they've gone crazy, and they are compromising their military or whatever. But maybe it's not exactly entirely like that. And you had such incidents in the past also, like in 1971. You had Lin Biao, the Tiger, one of China's greatest generals, whose plane crashed in Mongolia because he was escaping from China, purportedly
Crash.
on his way to the USSR. Yeah, the plane crashed because it ran out of fuel or something like that. We also have Peng Dehuai, Peng Dehuai, who also was dishonored, and he was purged. He had to go through struggle sessions and whatnot, and eventually he was rehabilitated by Deng Xiaoping, and today he is one of the most respected generals in the Chinese, historically in the Chinese military. So these things happen in China. China is a cutthroat system. I mean, if you want to rise to the top, you incur immense risks, and your position, it's never safe. And the boss, if he suspects something, well, you're in big trouble. So that's what we are seeing right now. So it's an uncompromising dog eat dog system, extremely brutal system, and that's why China typically produces such high quality leaders, because you have to be the best of the best and the hardest of the nut to crack in order to rise to the top. So that's what we are seeing.
Point taken. But it's quite interesting. Even if 30-40% of this is true, where he's been in touch with the US for some reason or something or the other.
Yeah.
I'm not saying nuclear and everything, but I am saying that if he's been in touch with the US for whatever exchange of information, well, China has been breached at the highest levels.
It's been breached in the past, and if this is true, then it's been breached again. So it's interesting that this gentleman, Zhang Yuxia, I looked into his past, and he has never actually visited the US. So he is not known to have visited on the US. It's not on the record, but he has met with US officials on various occasions within China for official purposes. So it's possible that they may have compromised him there, or something like that may have happened. So if the Americans actually succeeded in doing this, so it means that they are going after everyone. It's possible that they are going after other countries also, maybe Russia, maybe somebody else somewhere else. Yeah. So we've got to be careful.
They threw drones on Putin's house.
Yeah. While Trump was on the phone with Putin, and Trump was delaying extending the call, wasn't he?
I mean, can you imagine that? They threw drones on Putin's house. So, I mean, the whole world is getting shot to shit. Nothing else. That's what we see. Now, when you look at Europe today, and I'm sure you've read both the security documents that have come out. One is from the State Department, and then the second one comes out, which from the Pentagon. Both of them are starkly different from each other, by the way. One is talking about the retreat of America. Second is talking about the retreat of America from Europe only, active in the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific. So how do you see America's role going forward? What are they trying to do?
See, yeah, it's pretty interesting that these are pretty, kind of jarringly different documents, right? The kind of vision they are painting is pretty different, and it's interesting that we have these two documents that we can now put together and try to create a bigger picture of what the Americans are intending, for their national security doctrine and whatnot, and what kind of world do they envision to create. Because they are in a position to create a certain kind of world. They are the most powerful nation in the world. Not China and Russia have nothing like the power projection capabilities the US has. Now it's very starkly visible. Starkly visible. The Russians can't do a thing if Venezuela happens. Neither can the Chinese. If Iran happens, once again, Russia and China will be just watching. So what is happening? So if you look at last year's document, they talk about the revival of the Monroe Doctrine. The Western Hemisphere is now entirely going to be policed by the US. No external power is allowed to interfere. And that's why Greenland is most likely happening. That's why Venezuela happened. And Venezuela happened because of the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which says that, even regional powers, local powers in the Americas will not be allowed to go against US interest. And if they do, then we're going to take action. So that's what's happening in the Western Hemisphere. Now, if you look at the 2025 document, then it sounds like the US is retreating into hemispheric defense. So it sounds like they are withdrawing from Asia, from the Eastern Hemisphere, and they're going to focus only on playing defense killing, right? That's what it looks like. That's what it makes the whole thing sound like. But at the time, I interpreted that as not hemispheric defense, but hemisphere first. So they're going to prioritize the hemisphere. They're going to ensure no one else is allowed to operate there. Plus, they're going to continue whatever activities they're engaged in the rest of the world. And the second document kind of adds to that and kind of indicates that, yeah, that is the case. It is hemisphere first, but not hemisphere only. So they're going to
Only.
continue. Yeah, so they're going to continue whatever they're doing in the rest of the world. They have more than 130 permanent military bases on Japanese soil. They're not going to walk away from that. They've got more than 120 permanent military bases on Korean soil, South Korean soil. They won't walk away from that either. And they have all these other bases in various parts of the world: Diego Garcia, Guam, Australia, Turkey, the various NATO bases in Europe. No one's walking away from that. And obviously now they have the Gaza Board of Peace, that weird motley combination of weird nations. I mean, Turkey and Pakistan, these terrorist nations together with the US. I mean, what a strange vision it is, but it is what it is. And no self-respecting power has joined it. Right? Not neither India, Russia, nor China, nor France. France, I suppose, is out of it, right? Yeah. So the
Yeah.
US is going to continue whatever it is doing in the rest of the world, but it's going to prioritize its hemisphere. It's going to say that the Western hemisphere, no one else is now allowed to operate in it. Only we will. And the rest of the hemisphere, rest of the world, we will shape as per our whims and desires. And you try to do what you can, but you won't be able to. So that's how I see it.
What do you think about Iran? Is it going to happen very soon?
Iran is a much tougher nut to crack compared to Venezuela. See, if the US, I mean, we have past, past history to kind of guide us. You had Desert Storm, which was 1991, wasn't it? That was the invasion of Iraq. That was a partial invasion of Iraq. What it did was it essentially had the effect of forcing Iraq to move out of Kuwait, and they bombed Iraqi cities, killed millions of people possibly, and humiliated Saddam Hussein. And then you had 2003, which was the full invasion of Iraq, and to end what they had started, to finish what they had started in 1991. And it was a pretty massive operation, cost a lot of money, cost a lot of lives on America's side, aircraft on America's side, and millions of Iraqi citizens and all that. And then they had to fight an insurgency for a decade because the people of Iraq were resisting. So it's a pretty bad thing to get bogged down in. And Iraq is a smaller nation compared to Persia, compared to Iran. So if you launch a military operation, an invasion of Persia, that's gonna have to be a massive logistical operation. The Americans have military bases that kind of ring fence Iran. They also have Pakistan as an asset now. But still, to effect a regime change through military invasion is going to be a massive undertaking. And Iran is no pushover. They have immense missile firepower. They can obliterate all the American air bases in the region through just numerical superiority. It's just a numerical certainty that if you fire a certain number of missiles, you're going to overwhelm the defenses. And the Iranians have those numbers of missiles. They can also target Israel along the way. And who knows whether they have a nuclear deterrent or not. They have not been very forthcoming about it. But there are rumors that by now they may have sufficient, weapons-grade fissile material to have at least a handful of nukes. So all those factors are unknown. So I think it's going to be a very tough nut to crack. What makes sense actually for the US, if I was the US, I would say, let's bring ISIS and Al-Qaeda into the picture. Let us have Turkey and the Syrian ISIS terrorists who are ruling Syria now work together. And that's what's happening. They're wiping the Kurds out of Syria. They will enter Iraq, northern Iraq, and they will proceed eastwards. And then maybe western Iran, they will start an insurgency there. And maybe you can have Pakistani terrorists come in from the east. So you're hemming Iran in from two sides. And Iran is forced to fight low-intensity warfare all over the place. That then destabilizes the regime, and then eventually you can put in the coup de grace whenever you feel like. I mean, eventually. So I think it's going to be a multi-year operation. It's not going to be something they can do immediately. That's the sense I'm getting.
But when I look at the kind of operations these monkeys have done, everything that we thought that this is going to take time, and conventional wisdom always said that things are going to take time. It didn't. It just happened in a flash. So another possibility is that they just go and bomb the hell out of Iran, which is going to cause casualties. They're going to wipe out the IRGC bases, the Basij bases. They can perhaps take pot shots at Tehran and the leadership complexes and all that. And through that, by causing a lot of damage, they can actually launch decapitation strikes at the Iranian leadership. They can do that. That's going to be pretty messy. And they may be able to quickly take over Iran in that case. So they will effect a regime change. But then they're going to have to deal with the fallout, which may be insurgency and resistance from the people. Because I would say at least 50% of the people of Iran are supporters of the regime. At least 50%. And they're going to fight back. They're not going to sit and allow the Americans to walk in.
So then the Americans are going to face a long, extended, protracted insurgency, just like what you had in Iraq. So if the Americans are okay with that, they can quickly go in and effect a regime change, which will be pretty messy. So that's the
Yeah,
second scenario.
that's true. And what I look at Iran, and this is something I had spoken about last week, that they will breach Iran from two or three areas. These jihadis that you mentioned, they've collected about 100,000 of these guys. So
Yeah,
that's a huge number, whatever you say. And what is happening with the Kurds is just it's devastating. I mean,
it's horrific.
it's your
I mean,
heart to see what's happening.
the media isn't reporting what is happening with the Kurds.
Nope.
If you see Telegram, you will know what's happening. It's hideous. It's ghastly, and this is being essentially greenlit by the US.
So
And at
there
one
is
time, the Kurds were fighting on behalf of the US, weren't they? The Americans use whoever they want, whenever they want, and then they'll switch sides. They used to fight Al Qaeda. They now are Al Qaeda in Syria, where the moderate rebels, apparently rebranded moderate rebels, and ISIS essentially is a creation of the US itself, right? And you have an ISIS terrorist ruling Syria, yeah. And now ISIS is being used to do this new thing. First of all, wipe out the Kurds. I mean, that's what. It's genocidal. What this project entirely,
and then
so it's pretty dirty games.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that there are Americans calling it out. Lindsey Graham, who's supposed to be very close to the president, he himself is saying what's happening with the Kurds is horrible.
It's horrific.
Let's come back down to American politics a little bit. There have been two leaks, and I covered this in my update in the morning. There have been two leaks from America about India in the past 2 days.
Okay.
And that's pretty interesting. One is that leak from the Wall Street Journal about Bangladesh, right? And the US secret talks with Bangladesh, with the Jamaat and everything. That tells you a lot. And then the second thing comes out about Ted Cruz in Axios today morning, where Ted Cruz is, it seems, fighting with Donald Trump, saying, "Don't do this to the Indians. You're ruining your entire chance of this thing. This is a no-brain victory, and you're fighting for it, which is creating trouble for you."
Okay, I haven't heard about the Ted Cruz thing. Would you please elaborate a little bit?
Oh yeah, this is amazing. So Ted Cruz, there's a leak that Axios has put out where Ted Cruz is sitting and talking to some donors. And he's basically saying that I've spoken to Trump so many times, this tariff business is stupidity. Don't do this. Especially with a country like India, that you're doing something like this. India is a no-brainer. You can actually get so much stuff out of India by just being nice. There's no point doing what you're doing. India is always stood by us. Why are you doing this? So they had a fight. And he, as a matter of fact, told Trump that you will lose the midterms, you lose the House, you lose the Senate, and then you'll spend the next 2 years figuring out who's going to impeach me next. And the answer that Trump gave Ted Cruz is "fuck you," sort of a thing. So
I see.
And that's a very nasty sort of a leak that has come out. Forget the content. The sheer fact there are two leaks about India in 2 days. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. I mean, the Bangladesh thing, it's not surprising at all. I mean, the fact that the leak happened is kind of surprising, but what's emerged from the leak is entirely unsurprising. We've always known the Americans were behind this. We've known it for the longest time. I've known it, like I knew it 9 months before it happened, that there's going to be a coup in Bangladesh and the Americans are gonna remove Hasina, and they're hand in glove with the Jamaat and all that. So that's not surprising, but it's surprising that it came out, this leak, the extent to which the American officials are, coordinating with the Jamaat and all that stuff. That's pretty surprising. Leaks generally serve a purpose. And what purpose does the leak serve is the question here. So it looks like the Indian intelligence establishment, it looks like we have saved the Bangladeshi military high command on 2 occasions, it looks like. At this point.
Yesterday,
third one. This is the third one, okay.
Yeah, no, no. Yesterday, another report came out. Now that the NSA, Khalilur Rahman was planning a coup.
Okay, that's okay. So that's the third one now. Okay, third one. Okay, so despite what's happening, I mean, look, when the coup happened and Sheikh Hasina was ousted, it was the Bangladeshi military that executed that. They gave Sheikh Hasina an ultimatum and a deadline of 45 minutes: get out, or we can't guarantee your security. So it's the Bangladeshi military that did that. But here we are saving their backside on multiple occasions. The high command, Waqar Zaman and all that, right? Those guys. So yeah, it's a pretty complicated situation. The thing is, look, we are stuck with our neighbors and we have to have good terms with them. And we understand that it's the military that actually runs the show in nations like Bangladesh and Pakistan. And Bangladesh, I suppose, we can talk to them and we can see how it goes. Yeah. But the question that still perplexes me is why did this leak come out? Why did the Americans
Why?
leak this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an answer? I'm not sure at this point. I've not looked into it in
Wall
better detail.
Street Journal, Wall Street Journal coming out and saying something like that. When you're saying, okay, Wall
Yeah.
Street Journal is the mouthpiece of the CIA. Why would the
Yeah.
CIA do something like that out?
So is something brewing behind the scenes in the corridors of power in the US?
Yes,
I mean, are they displeased with Trump?
Look at the Western media today. Oh, Modi this, Modi that, Modi this, Modi that.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, watch this."
And you know what? We have to be careful not to get carried away with this praise, because Indians love praise. Indians love praise. We've got to be really careful. What are they trying to achieve here? Something is brewing. They are leaking this stuff from Bangladesh that makes them look bad. That
Us look good.
actually, yeah, it makes us look good. It makes them look like the bad guys. It demonstrates, it proves that they were after the coup and everything that's happening. What they are doing is completely, essentially, a murder of democracy. They are interfering in the internal affairs of Bangladesh and in the electoral matters of Bangladesh, which is entirely contrary to everything they claim to be. So there is that. And then these Western major publications are praising Modi. What exactly are they trying to do? Are they trying to perhaps flatter us into getting what they want? What exactly is it? And I'm not sure at this point in time. Something is brewing. We're going to have to analyze it a little more, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll obviously need to, because it's not something that happens normally. To me, it's either an effort to embarrass Trump and use India. It doesn't really matter what India thinks, but it's a great thing, which is, you kind of use that because Trump is India's soft point, whatever you say, right? And I mean, India is Trump's soft point. My apologies there. And he's not been able to crack it. So
He's not been able to crack India.
Beef up India and kind of embarrass Trump. That's plausible.
Yeah, so that makes sense. That scenario makes sense. That they're trying to embarrass Trump for whatever reason. Maybe Trump is being obstinate about something that we are not aware of behind the scenes, and they want to embarrass him and put some pressure on him. And obviously, the one thing that he has failed at is in controlling India and getting India to cave in and bend the knee. India has not bent the knee. And India is now standing up as an example for the rest of the world, even for the EU, as to how to deal with Trump. So it's one of Trump's major failures thus far. The other failure is his failure to end the Ukraine war, obviously. So maybe there is some kind of discontent or some kind of something happening behind the scenes in the US, and they want to pressurize Trump. That makes sense. Using India as the stick to beat Trump with, perhaps.
It's quite interesting that they choose India. Why? We are a dead economy. I mean,
that's what Trump claims, but we'll see what's happening with the EU. The EU doesn't think we are a dead economy, right?
I mean, it's quite interesting that all this stuff is happening. When we look at the situation between Russia and US, there doesn't seem to be any break happening there. There's no space where they can actually create a talking point or something like that. They've sat down with this trilateral sort of a thing. First time there was Russia, Ukraine, and America sitting on the same table. That was very interesting to me. Okay, that's a start, but I don't give it too much into sort of a too much into that particular bargain. But the pivot to China, how do you see that happening?
Who's pivot to China?
America's. Are they, in your opinion? Because I personally say this, that don't look by what they're writing and talking. Look at the ground. If you look at the ground, Venezuela, China. Iran, China. Bangladesh, backside of China. Central Asia, China. It's all China at the end of it.
Yeah.
And now Canada, China. Everything is China, 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 China. So do you see this as a larger game of containment of China?
Oh, absolutely. That actually is the game. See, if you look at Venezuela, for example, Venezuela produces heavy sour crude oil, right? Extra heavy sour crude oil, which only 3 or 4 refineries in the world can refine, can process. And one of those is in China, one is in India, and so on. So Venezuela's oil output the last 3-4 years, about 65 to 80% of that has been going to China. It accounts for only about 3 to 4% of China's input, but it's obviously one of the sources that China has. And now that's gone. Now that's gone. The Americans are going to control everything about the Venezuelan oil, who it is sold to and how it's sold and so on. Now, if Iran happens, that's like 15-20% of China's oil
Hmm.
imports. If that happens, it's going to be massive. UAE, it's another 15-20% of China's imports. Saudi Arabia, again, the US can control. So the US is essentially, acquiring oil, acquiring all the sources of Chinese oil. So eventually, if this continues, if this game continues, then China will have only access to Russian oil, which is going to tightly couple China to Russia, and it's going to make Russia's position stronger, actually, which is interesting. And now Canada was supposed to have the trade deal with China. They've walked away. So China is being hemmed in and they are being pushed out of everything. China is being contained. So clearly, what's happened in Venezuela, what's happened in Syria, what's happening
Mhm.
in Iran, all of this stuff is aimed at China and Russia, but more at China. Because see, Russia doesn't depend on any nation for any raw materials or any resources. Russia is an autarky; they have everything in their own territory. China is critically dependent on other nations for energy, and they have done a great job of diversifying their basket from which their energy basket. But everything has been squeezed out now. And essentially, that means that the US will be able to negotiate with China from a position of great strength, because they're going to be holding all the sources of China's energy. So definitely, that's the game that's being played. I mean, even if you look at what's happening in Somaliland, etc. I mean, we have two. We Indians talk about Malacca, that we will choke off Malacca. The Americans say, why choke off Malacca? We'll deal with Bab al Mandeb and Hormuz. If we take Iran, Hormuz is gone, finished. And if we take if we do the Somaliland thing and do South Yemen, then Bab al Mandeb is done. So we can choke off everything that goes in and out of China from these two choke points. So the Americans are obviously definitely playing this hidden game behind the scenes of essentially blockading China from afar. And it's pretty successful, actually. And the Americans know the Chinese are extremely wary of any kind of military conflict. The Chinese talk about their PLA and all that, and that they want to take Taiwan or whatever, but they are mortally afraid of getting entangled in any kind of military engagement with the US or even Japan. Even Japan scares them, actually. The Americans know that, and that's why they are now pushing their weight around and doing these regime change operations. So if they want to do Iran, and if it happens, whether it is messy or not, it's going to be a massive blow for China.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, even Venezuela, people underestimate. Everybody talks, oh, Venezuela was only taking 2-3% of the oil. Hey, knock, knock, buddy. They were also taking the Black Fleet. They were
Yeah,
paying
that's
Venezuelans
not
in
talking
Bitcoin.
about. Yeah.
People are not talking about that. I mean, that's the Black Fleet is always there, right? Which is what which is where the game is, actually.
The
The game
Black
is not
Fleet
in
is where the game is. Yeah.
the game is not in the, what you call, the regular purchases. It's in the Black Fleet, and that's very important that people actually forget. Let's come to the Indian position in the game. We've got our issues. There's no question about it. But what we are also seeing is that there's a huge pivot by not just the world powers, by the global economy, by the global, what do you call, the global structure, the deep state. Everybody kind of seems to be pivoting towards India a little bit, and stuff is slowly coming out. Uh, Seems like there's some setting has already taken place with regards to the future placement of India. What do you think that is?
What if you talk about the deep state, which is the US establishment and whatever else? Look,
Your,
what they want
your
India, they want. Sorry?
transatlantic establishment,
Yeah, let's
Europe
call
as
it
well.
that. The
Yeah.
transatlantic establishment. Yeah, makes sense to call
Interesting
it that.
is that one is actually bringing Davos to India in autumn. So you heard about
Oh,
that,
is that
right?
so? I'm not aware of that. Davos is coming to India. Is it gonna snow?
Davos is coming to India in autumn. Can you imagine that? I mean, I never thought
Okay.
something like that would happen. I was like, that's big.
Okay. So the transatlantic alliance or establishment, what kind of role do they envisage India playing in the world
Right.
order? See, they would obviously not want India to grow too much, to rise too much, and become maybe a middle income nation. That is something they don't want India to do. But India obviously is this massively enticing market, huge market that they would like to sell things to. So that's what they would like India to do. They would like India to keep playing the role of the world's back office, They would like India to open up its market a little more to various goods and so on, especially American goods, and that's where the trade deal is struck between India and the US. Um, so look, if you look at their policy that I see towards India, it's one of containment. They will not like go to war with India or something, but they're going to be hostile towards India. And we see, and they're going to use different approaches. So that as long as Trump is there, there's going to be a specific kind of approach, which is this disparaging, scathing approach towards India from people like Howard Lutnick and whatnot. And Trump talking nice about India. It's a good cop, bad cop kind of thing. But they're going to try and adopt a maximalist position when it comes to tariffs and trade and all that. And India is not going to cave in, which is why the trade deal is stuck in limbo and it's not happening. When it comes to the EU, they are themselves very upset with the US. They've been disrespected, and that's why they're going to do a trade deal with India, which is going to be good for both sides. Australia obviously already has a trade deal. New Zealand has one. I think Chile and so on. UAE has interesting deals with India, which is which is good to see. There's the Israel factor also. So I think overall India has options. The US right now, it looks like it's going to be obstinate, and India is not going to give the US exact everything it wants. India has been actually pretty generous in the kind of negotiating compromises we were willing to make. But the US evidently has adopted a maximalist position that give us everything. It's not enough what you're offering us. Give us everything. Open up your economy to our agriculture, to our dairy and whatnot. And obviously that is not going to work for India. It's going to bankrupt our agricultural sector and dairy sector. So that's how I see it going. If the US is going to have this position and this approach of containing India. And that's why we see all the stuff happening in the subcontinent. I mean, what we're seeing in Bangladesh, what we saw in Pakistan in 2022, Nepal also, and the Cookie Land for Christ issue in Burma, and which is spilling over into Manipur and Mizoram and all that. So, that's how I see it going. I don't see the relationship with the US improving the next 3-4 years, maybe next 5 years. But India is doing a great job of diversifying its options. The EU trade deal is, like I said, it's going to be massive if it does happen. Probably it happens. So it's going to be an interesting time going forward. Going ahead.
Lastly, let's talk about the subcontinent itself. You've got, I call Pakistan Hira Mandi because it gets sold. Right now it's getting sold for bits, as simple as that. So Hira Mandi is sitting in one place. You've got by the way, did you see the way that the so-called experts in Pakistan, especially I love this guy, what's his name, Najam Sethi, and the bimbo that sits in front of him. 2 weeks back, that monkey was saying, see how we got Trump. India could not lobby anything and this and that. It was India's failure. And today he's saying, अब सदर ट्रम्प से हमको थोड़ा डर के रहना पड़ेगा क्योंकि अगर हमने ना करा तो वो गला पकड़ लेगा.
गला तो पकड़ेगा ही Trump. Trump is not their friend, he's their master, isn't he?
Where's this field marshal? There he is. What do you think about that?
I've not been watching these Pakistani experts. I don't do that. I'm not aware of what they're saying.
There's a Twitter page called Pakistan Unfans. Okay, and Pakistan Untold. There are two of these. Okay. And so they keep putting out these clips, and I keep watching those clips. That's so freaking funny, man. Najam Sethi and the bimbo. I call her the bimbo.
Yeah, so I'm not aware of what they've been up to, but clearly they have these delusions of grandeur. Yeah, delusions of grandeur that they are now on the high table. Arey bhai, you are the servants. You're the dogs at the table. That's what you are. They'll throw you a bone or two once in a while. That's all it is. Right? Proximity to power doesn't necessarily mean that you are powerful. It means that you are useful to power, to the guy who's powerful, and they're going to use you, and eventually one day they'll discard you. That's where Pakistan is. That's where Bangladesh is. That's where everybody who serves the US is.
Yeah.
You're never a partner of the US. You're simply an asset that is temporary in nature.
The best thing is the Chinese have, it seems, warned Pakistan, don't do anything stupid with Indian dams. They'll bloody blow up everything you've got.
Don't do it. If they Yeah, the Chinese still seem to regard Pakistan as an asset. I mean, it's logical. Even though Pakistan is now a US vassal, still Pakistan is useful to China if it when it comes to counterbalancing India. So they'll keep on providing their valuable inputs to Pakistan because they
Yeah.
know that Pakistan lacks a few brains and stuff. If you try and hit India's dams, they're going to wipe out your dams, and it's going to be a disaster for you. Yeah,
No, he
the
said
Chinese will.
the exact Chinese thing is if you hit even one, they'll take out all of yours.
Of
And
course,
please
naturally.
remember, we have a lot of investments in your dams, so please don't do
Yeah.
that. This is the words that they've.
Okay.
Okay. This
Good
is
to know.
interesting. And the Chinese, by the way, there is a map which is floating around, and I'll probably do an explainer on this. I'm trying to decipher it. Let me just show you. This is a map which has
How
been
many
made in
square kilometers?
972 square kilometers is what China is saying we have taken back.
Okay. So did we take this back through negotiations, or did we take it back by walking
Both,
in?
both.
Both. Okay. Okay.
So this green part we took back while straight walking.
Okay.
The green part is straight walking. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I'm yet to interpret the entire thing. I've got the details. I'm yet to kind of make this map myself and then do a explainer on it. This is not an official map,
Okay.
by the way. It's done by a Chinese blogger.
Okay.
So he's coming out and saying this is the reality of the situation and this and that. It's pretty interesting. I mean, China
Right.
admitting to something like that is okay.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual, isn't it?
It is 972
Hmm.
kilometers. They're saying openly that this we had
That's a
acquired and we had to give back.
it's a big chunk of territory. I think some of it must have been in Chinese hands since 62, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good. I'm
It's
glad.
been it's been there since 62, and it's this entire area was co-patrolled till 2012.
Uh-huh.
So 2012, we lost Demchok, Chushul, Demchok area. We lost quite a bit in that area, and
Uh-huh.
then they came into Depsang also. There's the Traki Nala Y junction is been on since 2012 actually.
Okay. Uh-huh.
People never spoke about it. That's a different story, but it's been on
Hmm.
since 2012. Can you imagine we're going into our places after 2012? Yeah, 13 freaking
Yeah, that's
years,
14 years. Yeah. Hmm.
14 years. It's insane.
The point is that China doesn't have any locus standi for being in the region at all. I mean, we have to remind the world that China occupies Tibet illegally. China has no business being in Tibet, and the entire India-China border issue, the India-Tibet border issue, it exists because China is illegally occupying Tibet.
Yeah.
And
And
for us to resolve this matter, we have to grow stronger
so a
over the
lot of
next
people in
20
the
years.
comments is asking why would they give this back? That's the deal, guys. See, what happens is, let me explain. This is, let's say, the center point. So India claims territory till here, China claims territory till here. Now this whole thing is that 972 square kilometers. During the standoff, both of us were standing. Somebody was standing here. There were places where we were. I mean, China was inside and we were right behind him. There were places we were literally like this, line to line, standing like that with each other. So it was a very confusing scenario. So what has happened is both these guys have gone back and both can now patrol this area, which we were not able to do since 2012. So that's 972 square kilometers we just didn't have. And especially about Demchok in the southern part, we just didn't have that. I mean, it was gone. You couldn't cross the Indus, by the way, in that area. It just couldn't happen.
And what people need to remember is that the Chinese have not given this willingly. We
Oh
made them
God.
do this. We
Yeah.
made them do it through pressure, through leverage, through arm twisting, essentially. We
Yeah.
made them do it. This is a Chinese weakness that you're witnessing here, an Indian strength. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a little deep dive into this. I've already started today morning. I will try and kind of recreate this map, and
Hmm.
I will do a show when I'll share it with you also, sir. That's not a problem.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I'd done an update last week that we've got almost 1,000 square kilometers back. People laughed at me. I said, okay, fair enough. Let me
Uh-huh.
dig into it. So I found
Okay.
this map which has been done in China. I said, okay, there you go.
Right. Hmm.
Correct. All right, let's get into some questions. Request everybody, please like both the channels, subscribe to both the channels. You guys know what happens to nationalists, and you guys know what happened to people who talk straight. We always get busted. So please do that. That's very critical. And of course, if you can, support us in any way you can. Check out the description for details. Let's get into questions. There are loads of questions, loads of people on this wonderful afternoon. All right, 1 second. Here we go. भास्कर भाई, थैंक यू. चरण स्पर्श, अभिजीत सर एंड आदि, आपको भी सर. गणतंत्र की दिवस की शुभकामनाएं आप दोनों को एंड एवरीवन वाचिंग. जय हिंद की सेना, जय भारतम. Absolutely, sir.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Jan 29124 says UAE's Al Nahyan plans to buy silver worth $340 billion by 2028. Silver could become the second largest assets in the world. Is there another country, Abhijit Saab, who's doing that? Let me see. Which one?
I've heard a lot about silver, but I'm wondering which the country.
Yeah, we are buying off every bit of silver in the world right now. So, yeah. And I think
right now it's metals, right? It's silver, it's copper, gold. So obviously it's there. Yeah.
Copper is. See, the point is, there's one thing a lot of people miss out is silver is not mined for silver. Silver is a byproduct of other metal mining. And silver gets consumed, right? Because silver, let's say this phone has 10 grams or 15 grams of silver. When someone throws this, the silver inside the phone is gone. It can't be recycled every time. But the thing with gold is that you can recycle it every time. So the consumption of silver is much higher than the production of silver, and that's becoming a problem. So that's where I see there's something which is happening as far as this metal is concerned. Let's see. Geopolitical Dubeji, thank you so much, sir, for that. YouTuber Tuber, thank you. Adi sir, you recently said that keep your head down and keep moving forward for next 20 years. But will Pakistan leave India alone? No, they won't. They won't,
obviously. No, they won't. So we've got to deal with them.
Yeah. You saw the weapons today, right?
I haven't seen. What happened?
There's a hypersonic that was on display. So.
Oh, the today morning, right? Yeah. Nice weapons. I like those. Yes, pretty interesting weapons. A few of those. Yeah.
Stealth drones,
yeah,
hypersonic.
That's news, isn't it? That's news. Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah. Aditji, thank you. He says if US has this much leverage over China, imagine what they have over India. Most MPs, ministers, IAS, family resides there, and that is the key to soft power. In a way,
this is not soft power, this is hard power.
It's hard power, but do they actually use it is a big question. They don't know.
I could not venture a guess.
Yeah, can't answer that question, right? USA's government departments seem to operate in silos. No two departments agree to a similar, not to mention a single doctrine to transact with other nations.
Well, there is some element of siloing, but overall the US has a pretty integrated policy towards nations, and it's typically decided at levels such as the Pentagon and the CIA and so on. They typically have experts. See, the US, if you look at their foreign ministry, essentially State Department, they have like 20,000 or so diplomats. Many of these people are experts in a specific nation, and they provide inputs to all the departments whenever these are required. So I think that the Americans have a pretty integrated foreign policy specific to individual countries, much better than what we do. We are obviously getting better now, but I think the US does probably the best job in the world at this.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But let me just say this in addition, the CIA always works separately, right? They
Nobody dares encroach into CIA territory, right? Do they?
A point will be reached when the US will not be able to sustain their military bases for long. The dollar is already vulnerable and their debt is sky high. Roman Empire fell the same way. If you don't mind, sir, you're a big history buff. The letter that the Romans had written to London in 497, if I'm not mistaken, where they basically said that, we will all be the Roman Empire, and the great city-states and London and everybody, the Romans had written that, but we will not be able to defend you anymore. Is that the same thing that you see that the US is doing to the Europeans today?
Kind of, yeah. They are saying you need to pay more for your defense. So it's like, we can defend you, but we want you to pay more. So it's not reached the point that we are walking out now and you got to defend yourselves. It's like, we now require that you pay more. Essentially, it's demanding tribute from from the EU, from the NATO nations, essentially. So that's how I see it.
I mean that letter. You guys must read that letter. Huh? It's a I think 497 AD or something like that. It was written in. I don't remember it's the 5th century for sure. Lavanya ji, thank you. Says Shubh Republic Day. Republic Day thoughts on the possible Indo-European close ties and significance of EU Ursula G's presence in the Republic Day program. They want to buy weapons.
Yeah. Uh, Possibly buy weapons. Maybe we displayed a few interesting weapons that Prime Minister Modi was pointing out each weapon and the specifics of each weapon to Madame Ursula G, wasn't he? So she's here primarily for signing the trade agreement between the FTA between India and the EU, and possibly to buy weapons and whatnot. So I think it's a very significant thing. She is very welcome here, along with Madame Kaya Kalas and the Portuguese gentleman who is of Indian Goan origin. So yes, in India and Europe are strengthening relations because both are being disrespected. I mean, we don't care about Donald Trump disrespecting us, but the EU nations are not used to it. So they have been stung very badly, and they are seeking alternatives, and they're doing the right thing. Good, welcome to India, and let's do business.
Ted Cruz is not like Alexander. Does not like the Alexander Nix of Cambridge Analytica. Rebecca Mercer. Father is the brain of Trump. Yeah, that thing is rotten. Anyways, what do you think?
Okay, no, I'm not aware of any of these things.
Ted Cruz is a very pro-Israel chap, right? And the Israelis have been putting a lot of pressure on Trump not to screw around with India and not to do this. There has been a lot of the APAC is not happy with Trump when he did what he did. So. By the way, the APAC is the Israeli lobby in America. They love us for free. We don't do anything. They just love us for free. Rahul ji, thank you. Don't you think the internal polarization could turn into divided wastes of Vespucci? Military power is there, but society and economy is crumbling. Iran.
You're talking about Iran, or you're talking about the US?
Iran.
Iran is divided for sure. See, if you look at the demographics of Iran, maybe 50 or 60% of the people of Iran are Persian by ethnicity. The rest are various other ethnic groups, like the Arabs, like the Azeris, like the Balochis, and so on and so forth. Various other ethnicities, and those can obviously be used by the West to create problems in Iran. And if you look at the overall population of Iran, I would say about 50% would probably, maybe more than 50%, would support the Islamic regime, but a massive number would also be against the Iranian regime of the Ayatollahs. So Iran, I think, is a nation divided. People have all kinds of aspirations that they are not, that are not coming true. So yeah, there are major issues in Iran for sure.
All right. Pratmeji says, Happy Republic Day, AC Sir and Aadi Bhai. Is all of anti-US, anti-India, all of US anti-India? I feel like India has many cards that we haven't played fully yet so far.
Is the whole of the US anti-India? No, I would not say all of the US is anti-India. Not at all. See, there is nothing personal that the Americans have against India. The Americans don't play the game of being personal. This is just business. It's just business, like this in The Godfather. We are competitors, we are rivals. I'm the big guy, you're the small guy. You seek to rise. I don't need you. I don't want you to rise. I don't want you to be a competitor in 20 years. So I'm going to keep you down. Nothing personal, just business. So it's not like they're anti-India or they hate India or they despise India. Some elements obviously will be like that, the racist elements and the whatever. But overall, the US is pretty, doesn't hate India as such. That's obviously how it is, So
yeah. Sesbai, thank you so much for that. Okay, Krishnaji, Krishant, thank you. He says, big fan of both of you. Please talk about the UGC. Does the government not consider general category people as Hindus? They're telling all of us to leave the country. That's the propaganda of it. They've made a stupid mistake. Let me just say that very clearly. A terrible, stupid mistake, which they need to roll back. But there's nobody saying anybody to get out of the country. And I'm not leaving this country. It's mine. I'm going to fight. But I'm not going to fight by screaming, shouting, and this and that. I'm going to fight in my own sweet way. That's how it is. I'm going to stand by Vishnu Shankar Jain Saab when he does what he does in the Supreme Court. Lawfare is the game. It's a law. We'll fight it through the law.
I think this was unnecessary. It should be rolled back. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
It's a stupid mistake, and take it
Yeah,
as that.
totally.
But let me just say this, oh, I'm going to leave the country and all that bullshit. I'm
No,
not leaving that.
that's
Get lost. Sandeep ji, thank you. India should help the Kurds. We, along with Israel, should recognize Kurdistan and open an embassy there. So that's
Look, ideally, we should help all the downtrodden people in the world. Okay, the Kurds are related to us by blood, Indo-Iranian people. But the point is, we can't even help our Hindus in Bangladesh or Pakistan. Let's first help those. Let's become capable enough to help the people in our own, in our own neighborhood first. Then we'll talk about helping the Kurds or helping the Yazidis or helping other downtrodden people. We should first become capable of helping our own people in our own region.
absolutely correct. Okay. Carla, thank you so much, ma'am. You say Happy Republic Day to India, baby. The leaks and the praise of burgeoning praise of India and praise of burgeoning praise of India. Okay, anyways. And Modi is due to economic situation here, that's in America, not good here. MIC, manufacturing, IT, service face layoffs, bankruptcies, and not to mention Minnesota.
Minnesota,
Right?
my God, what's happening? Seriously. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Karla ji, indeed. Yeah, the situation isn't great in the US. I mean, Trump keeps saying that he's making America great again, but the economy isn't doing well. Trump's approval ratings are going down. We have ICE running riot all over the place. And they can see that Modi has done a great job overall with India. So maybe that could be one of the reasons why you have the begrudging praise of India and Modi. Possibly.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Naveen Saab, he says, India is surrounded by prime candidates for US regime change operations and Chinese coercion. What can India do to be regime change proof of them? Obviously, easier said than done. Example, Russia, Ukraine, but is there a playbook? Playbook is just to be yourself and do what you're doing right now, actually.
India is surrounded by nations that have already been regime changed. East Pakistan, West Pakistan, Nepal. I mean, what else? What more do you want? It's already happened.
Yeah.
You can't regime change prove them after this has happened.
No, why? But we'll have to kind of stick to our guns. There's just nothing else we can do. Yeah. Rashmiji once again says, how much is US benefited by taking Venezuela so far? Has China's energy really been strangled?
Well, whatever was flowing out of Venezuela and going into China, that has stopped entirely. Whatever the quantity is. So that's done. It's done. It's a fait accompli.
Yeah. Zestbhai, once again, thank you so much. Adit Saab, he says, thank you firstly. Is India winning the AI semiconductor EV race against China? USA is our government still doing things? I suspect we are far behind. As a matter of fact, we are electrifying faster than China. That's there.
Yeah, we are. So when we are at the same GDP per capita, region level, we are actually ahead of China. When it comes to AI, I don't see any Indian indigenous AI systems coming out yet. So I think from that perspective, we aren't yet in the game. I suspect that soon we will have a couple of indigenous AI systems, and let's see how good or bad those are. Hopefully they'll be of good quality, and then we move forward from there. So I think we are kind of lagging behind in the AI race. EV, well, I'm not sure where we are in EV again. So we have to catch up in various sectors, and one hopes we do soon.
Yeah. We are, if I may say, we are pretty good in application of AI. There's no question about it. Number 2 in the world.
Look, AI penetration is great in India, but that's all foreign AI. We are using foreign AI is great, but we need to have our own indigenous sovereign AI systems, which we don't right now.
Sarjensky, thank you. Says India-US trade deal. Hope it all goes well. India-EU trade deal. Hope it all goes well. Hope so. KV maybe, Saab. Thank you. He says, Namaste, Adi and Abhijit sir. Heard through X the grapevine that apparently Trump is engaging with the Reliance in UAE because of the refusal by American oil companies due to lack of capability. Any truth or a rumor? I've heard that as well.
The American companies are unwilling to resume operations in Venezuela because they are not convinced that this situation is going to last forever. Maybe the Venezuelans will once again nationalize the industry. Then what happens to their investment? So they are reluctant to enter Venezuela. That's what I hear. I am not aware of UAE or Reliance. So maybe Adi can throw some light on that.
I've heard this because see,
Mhm.
your refinery in Jamnagar has got the capability of refining Venezuelan oil, and we were
Yeah.
buying it. By the way, Venezuela owes us
Mhm.
$1 billion,
Okay.
so that is there. And of course, the East Coast can, but the East Coast can't take the capacity that we can.
Hmm.
America does not have the refining capacity that we have. We've got the second highest refining capacity in the world. The first is China, which is about at 9 million barrels a day. The second is ours, which is about 5.4 to 6.3 million barrels a day, which is huge.
See.
So we are able to actually, so our consumption is about 4.8 million barrels a day, right? So we are able to actually not just consume ourselves, we are able to actually produce and sell. That's where we are able to sell. China doesn't sell that way. That's the reason why.
Right. Yeah.
Raj Rathorji, thank you. You guys think the northern region should also look at building canal for direct port access? Lakhs of jobs from northern states get transferred to coastal states. Isn't that happening through the sea routes, the river routes? Is it the same thing?
I've heard that there is this plan to interlink the rivers and create these transport corridors over the rivers. I'm not sure what the status is when it comes to that. But
Hmm.
he's talking about building canals for direct port access. Well,
We
if you
have
want to
canals,
build a
but not for
canal with direct port access, that's problem. Yeah, sorry,
we have canals, but not for this.
not for this. I mean, if you take a canal all the way to the port, it's going to bring saline water all the way inland, which we don't want. It doesn't make sense to have saline water all the way there.
That's
So
true.
I don't
That's
think that's a starter. That's not
that's
going to
a good
happen.
point. Deshbagji, if US is ascending via its moves now or more open shifting from Europe, is this pressure driven by deep state or Trump making more visible?
Is the US ascending? I think the US is very powerful, but relative to other nations, its relative power is kind of lower than what it was, let's say, in 1995, right? Uh, and it's not openly shifting from Europe. It is placing more of the burden of the NATO expenditure on the European nations, European members of NATO. So it's not moving away from Europe. It's putting more pressure on the nations there. And obviously, it's also dealing with the EU nations in various ways. And those ways are disrespectful and, uh, you know, so all of that. So it's not like moving away from Europe.
Daddy.
Yeah.
KV maybe Saab, thank you so much for that, sir. Very kind of you. Sir, you said we aren't powerful enough to help Iran. What about China and Russia? Are they too just giving words at the moment? Yes.
Look, neither China nor Russia is in a position to help Iran if the Americans make a move on Iran. Nothing. They can't do a thing about it, right? That's the fact. India can't do a thing about America doing regime change in East and West Pakistan or Nepal because in the subcontinent, the US is the major power, more powerful than India. That's just a fact. Okay, and when it comes to Iran, even China or Russia can't do a thing. China
Yeah.
and Russia don't have anything like the power projection capabilities the Americans have. It is just it's visible. It's there.
Yeah. Arundhati ji, thank you. She says, is USA as strong as it was pre 2008? BRICS payment system comes in. Will there be an issue with the dollar? Will US attack on Iran go the same way as UK in Suez? Two
Look,
different scenarios.
we have to ask ourselves what do we mean by strong? If we talk about military power projection capabilities, the US has never been as strong as it is right now. When it comes to economic power, I think other nations have risen much more compared to where the US was in 2008. So, economically, you have nations that are rising, and the American relative strength is declining economically. But militarily and technologically, the US is far ahead of everybody else. So, it depends on what we are talking about. So, economically, the US is not as strong as it was. And if a BRICS payment system comes in, it will obviously, be a further dent in the stronghold that the stranglehold the dollar has had historically on the global economic system. Yeah, will the US attack on Iran go the same way as UK in Suez crisis? Well, that is all speculation. Can't say.
Yeah, and the situation was different actually.
That was a
Desh
different
Bhakt,
situation.
yeah, thank you. He says India's economy is projected to grow at 7.3%. Rupee is at 90 per dollar. Is real growth neutralized? Are we growing in in percentage but stagnant in value? No. The biggest question is the price of gold. and
Yeah,
the purchase of gold. Yeah.
that's the actual issue. The US dollar is a free floating currency. It's not pegged to anything real. If the rupee has a certain value with the vis-a-vis the price of gold, that's the real value of the rupee. Absolutely, you're right.
Yeah. So if your rupee is devaluing and your gold price also starts falling, then you have a problem. Here the gold price is
Hmm.
bloody going up. Normally, when a currency devalues, the prices also kind of resettles itself. Here the gold is going up, but the rupee is devaluing. This gap is amazing actually. And look at the way that your foreign exchange reserves are being kind of diversified. So that's awesome. Nikunji, thank you. Will we get BMW and Maruti rates in trade deal?
I suppose not that much.
But 40%, yeah, 40% taxes is pretty cool. Amisha ji, thank you. Today's podcast headline Kya Chavda hai, Chad hai.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Vishal ji, thank you. Happy Republic Day. Will China always remain a communist? Is there any chance of a revolution after Xi Jinping?
Look, nothing lasts forever. China has done a good job of reverting to its imperial system. Currently, the Chinese Communist Party is one of the it's the current dynasty essentially. It's the current dynasty in China, and the dynastic system is through the way the Chinese Communist Party appoints rulers, and it's communist only in name today. It's more imperial than communist, and it's actually an out and out what do you call it? A capitalist nation. So,
It's a projected communism but adopted capitalism.
yeah, it is.
And last one, Kivi Maybe Saab. Thank you, Adi and Abhijit sir. Thoughts on GCAP, FCAS, based on comments from IAF chief that India would need to partner up for the sixth generation.
GCAP, FCAS. These are foreign fighter programs, I suppose. FCAS is the European one. GCAP is the Japanese one. Is it like that?
Global Combat Air Program by the United
Okay.
Kingdom, Japan, and Italy. Sixth generation fighter.
Okay, so how do I see this? I would be against India joining any of these programs because then we're going to leave a lot of leverage in somebody else's hands. I don't think we need to partner up for a sixth generation fighter plane right now. Let's build this indigenously. We have the AMCA program coming up. We're going to have Safran engines in that. And let's build the fifth generation fighter plane first and then iterate forward to a sixth generation fighter plane. Let's not get ahead of things.
Yeah, that's one. And I secondly say that work as much as you can to get what you can. Beyond which,
Yeah.
no.
Yep.
Steal what you can.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's how it goes.
On that note, thank you so much, sir, for the time. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And
Likewise.
we just did one couple of weeks back. That went very well. I hope this also people watch and enjoy themselves. Guys, before you sign off, remember, like, subscribe, and write a comment on what you felt about the program and which part you enjoyed the most. Namaskar.